All right, we are live. Mike, why don't you introduce us?
Hey guys, what's happening? Welcome to Comic Book Weekly. We will be expecting Brant. He's just running a few minutes late. Hopefully, you guys will enjoy the show tonight. As of course, we always talk about the news, our top five. We'll take your comments, your questions, everything like that, guys. Yep, it's going to be a lot of fun. And we just want to wish you a happy early Turkey Day. That's right. Thanksgiving is only a couple days away where you guys get to enjoy some time with your friends and family. And, on that spare time, you can read some comic books as well.
If you
So,
have the time.
yeah. Yeah,
I
that's
don't
it.
think we should start with news this week. I do think we should start with comics this week, but we'll kill a little bit of time because I feel bad because there's like the big books. I was like, oh, we're gonna talk about Goblin without Brant. But I will say screen share this. We do have our best comics of the year. That we do every year. We do it for the month of December, but to make it a little easier on me, I started a little earlier so I don't have to have as many categories in one article. So we have best cover artist, event, one shot, and cover. And yeah, you can vote. I'm just going to actually stay on the thumbnail, but you can vote for your favorites in these categories. And then in the end of December, beginning in January, we'll announce what everyone voted for. And it's between me, Mike, and Brant's decisions of what we thought was the best in those categories. So you get to choose from there. And it's always fun to kind of like look back and see what we liked. So definitely go check that out and vote. That'll be fun.
Yeah, and I forgot to do it this afternoon. I was busy, but I'll also show it on the Facebook group if you guys follow me on my Facebook group page, Comic Book Corner 2.0 Webheads Unite, and I'll leave the link on there as well. But it's always tough to come up with these, because there's so much. But it is kind of cool to reflect and go back and see all the stuff that came out throughout the years, and you're like, ooh, best event. Oh yeah, Axe Judgment Day is not even going to be on that list. It's kind of like funny because it's like there wasn't even that many great events this year, which is sad. You know what I'm
It was only
saying?
Shadow War that I loved, and like Supermassive I put on there because I feel like it was such a unique event because you don't really get to see indie events as much. So I was like, oh, I'll put Supermassive, and then yeah, the only one I actually genuinely loved was Shadow War. So I was like, oh, that was easy because there wasn't many events that was great. I don't remember the last time I put a Marvel event. Oh, actually, I did. What I like doing after I did put my list together, sometimes I'll look back to see what I did last year. I actually did put King of Black last year, so
Did you?
I'm a liar. Yeah, that was the only event I liked last year was King of Black, and that's the only
I
one I
think that
have
was
now.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it was a well written event, though. You know what I'm saying? So, um, and we'll talk about that Donny Cates news later too. I was kind of surprised by that.
There's a lot of news to talk about, which I'm so excited about. And obviously our main topic too, which will be going into the Nightwing series. Willie does say, did you guys hear about Jason David Frank? Yeah, that was really sad. Honestly, it was interesting. I was going to an anime convention and I was talking to two of my friends and we were driving there and we were talking about Twitter and I was just saying like, oh man, it's, I'm sad that Twitter is going downhill because like I get a lot of my news from there. Like that's how I keep informed. And I'm curious to see how like me absorbing news will be different. I'll be like, all right, let's just see what's trending on Twitter now. And then that happened. I was like, oh my God, I didn't go on Twitter and expect that. And then it was before it was confirmed. So it was like, wait, is this true? Is it not true? And then throughout the day it was confirmed. But it's definitely very sad that ended up happening.
Yeah, I mean, I listen. I've never been a Power Rangers fan, never ever. But it's another iconic person. I mean, something that was, he was part of basically the
Culture.
original Power Rangers. You know what I'm saying, from season one, and it's just like it's kind of sad. Like I didn't know that the guy had problems. Did you? I mean, I never
No,
knew that he
no,
had issues.
no, I
So
never knew that.
yeah, it is tough, man. So
So yeah.
we have some folks on the show. Just wanted to give you guys a shout out. We're kind of stalling, waiting for Brant to come on. So we have Pedro, who was the first. He's like, I'm the first to comment. Mr. Fantastic says hello. Willie, which we already shouted up, says so. And then Steve's like, hello, everyone. Ron is in the house, says hello. And we got the couple of links from Kat there. The infamous Mike Manhattan. And he did have a comment here. Let's see what this one says. Did you guys hear one of the creators of Sonic the Hedgehog and Balan Wonderworld got arrested for inside trading? Nope.
I did not.
I did not know
I
that.
guess we're not in the video game sphere as much. Or again, man, Twitter, get your news from there. It just didn't show up on my feed. This is a good comment.
I didn't like Judgment Day at first, but I gave it a chance and it grew on me. I ended up liking it. Well, that's good. I mean, listen, like we say, if you like something, we're not going to judge you for it. We're not going to say, that's you're wrong for liking it. It's just when I look at a lot of events and I actually read a lot of events, compared to what I've read and what Judgment Day it was for me, I didn't enjoy it. It doesn't stack up to other Marvel events in the same way,
And I don't like events, so it really got to be something for me to love them. But yeah, Justin K asks, are you guys excited for the upcoming Iron Man run next month? I mean, I'm interested, but it's so funny. I don't remember who's writing. I was like, who's writing this new Iron Man run? I don't remember. I really don't.
Yeah, I can't remember either. I totally slipped my mind. Oh, is it Jerry Duggan? No,
It might. I'm gonna look it up. So Iron Man, I guess, it's coming out in December, or is it? Let me see. Iron Man issue 1. If it's coming out, okay, here we go. Jerry Duggan. Okay.
Okay, I was right.
Yeah, no, I'm interested to see that because I liked his Marauders and I like some of his books, so I'm just interested for a new voice on there. We do have a couple more questions here. When is Free Comic Book Day, local comic book shop day? Is it the same? They're not the same from I know, but it's always in May.
So Free Comic Book Day is in May. Local comic book shop day, I think it was just recently or just happened, or it's kind of like a silent thing, right? It's just, it's certain books that have special covers, and then you'll have a little logo in the corner and it says local comic book shop day. And maybe some places might have sales or something like that, where Free Comic Book Day literally gives you free comic books.
Free comics.
Right. That's what it is.
A much bigger event. We have some movie questions here. So infamous Mike Manhattan asks, you guys see the new Avatar sequel? My brother is a big fan of the first one, so I probably will. And I got those AMC stubs. We got to use it. So yeah, I'll probably see it. Cool. And then the other question, have you guys seen Wakanda Forever? Yeah, and I don't know if you've seen it, Mike, but I really loved it. I really liked it.
Yeah.
It was good.
Okay, that's good. Does it at least point in a future for future Marvel films? Do you feel when you got done watching it?
Yes and no. I feel like the reason I actually genuinely enjoyed it was that it was its own thing. Like, it's like, okay, like I can see this building the world, and Brant's on. I can see this building the world, but it's more about like Black Panther and its world, and maybe Namor's world too. I could see that going places, but that's what I loved about it. It just didn't feel like a Marvel movie, which again, nothing against Marvel movies, but
that's kind of like what the first one felt like too, right?
Yeah, which is why I love the first one.
Right, which is cool. But I didn't know if like they showed some type of future for other things at all, or what.
They showed a future for Black Panther. That could mean for the future of Marvel, but it definitely was more of that. All right, Brant, we stalled for you, so we didn't talk about any of the books.
Okay. Yeah. So, full disclosure, I don't have a top 5 because I didn't have time to rank my books, so I'm just gonna talk about books. So, and then I also will have to pop off after the books. I just found out Lisa's not going to be here tomorrow night. She's wanting to spend time together for, whatever, holiday week craziness going on. So,
no worries. Yeah. Cool. So let's did you rather do the news first? Because there's bigger news, or would you rather talk about the books?
I'd rather talk about the books because I don't want to have rushed through them for nothing.
Okay. That makes even more sense. Yeah, okay, so let's get into those books. So why don't you start, Mike?
All right. So let's talk about a book that I actually thought was pretty good this week. And it was definitely unexpectedly where I was like, oh, wow, this is actually not a cash grab. It felt like they actually took time to write this. Goblin issue 1. diving deeper kind of at what's going on in the psyche of Norman Osborn. And I actually really enjoyed this book. What did you guys think of it?
I thought it was okay. So I'm like, I won't say I'm on the opposite spectrum because I don't think it was bad, but I also don't know if it was necessary. I think a lot of the stuff that was discussed here has been discussed in Amazing Spider-Man, maybe in a little bit more depth, but there's not any new information here. So I'm like, it was fine. I'll get issue 2. I know it's a mini series. I think it's 5 issues. So I'm like, all right, let's see what happens. But I didn't love it. I wanted to like it a lot more than I did.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a different take on Norman, right? So I mean, like you said, Kat, it dug in a little deeper than what we get in Spider-Man. So I think that's I like when like miniseries or side series kind of do that. They take a character that gets some spotlight, but maybe you don't get their whole story, and then you dive into that more in their own series. And I thought they did a good job of that here.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was because in the Amazing Spider-Man and Nick Spencer's run, it was kind of like you had Norman Osborn's sins cleansed, right? And ever since then, you thought, okay, I'm fine. I'm normal Norman Osborn, right? And I'm just happen to be this good guy. But you don't know what he's truly going through on how he feels. And this comic explored that. And I like that. I love how he is struggling, that there is this internal struggle, and that he is not just cleansed of his sins and all of a sudden he's this good guy again. And you do get reminded of like why Peter Parker is there at, Norman Osborn's work and things like that. And how he's experienced guilt for the first time. He's never experienced that emotion, and that's what he's dealing with. And he's still being haunted by the Goblin at times. So, I like that. I thought that was really good. That's something, like Brant said, we have not gotten to see that from Norman Osborn in quite some time. We haven't gotten a true Goblin story in a long time. So I think this was a pretty good and well-written book, in my opinion here. So, all right. Next, we have Batman, Superman's World's Finest. This is issue 9. So I thought this book was it was good, but it wasn't my favorite World's Finest book. I felt like there wasn't a lot of story progression here. I kind of liked the ending of the book, but I felt like I feel like when it comes to the character David, I feel like there's too many cooks in the kitchen trying to teach him how to be a hero. Are you going to be like Superman? Are you going to be like Batman? Are you going to be like the Teen Titans? Right? Or he winds up getting captured at the end by the Joker. And it's like, or is he going to become a villain and become like the Joker now? But I just felt like the overall plot was it wasn't that great. And there was that emotional moment where David confesses to Superman, like what he did. And I felt like that particular point in time was overshadowed by that giant flood that, went through Gotham. And I think that was supposed to be a really heavy moment, and it just was erased. So, I like the comic. I just felt it wasn't as strong.
Yeah, no, I thought I didn't love the beginning. I thought that was a little repetitive, where I was like, okay, where is this going? But I like the middle when when David's like, okay, this is like what's going on. Maybe I'm not as good of a guy as you think, Superman. And then I obviously like the Joker ending. I thought it was a solid issue, but also like this is like always phenomenal. So I can see where you're coming from. It's like, okay, it's not like the best issue of the series, but still a great comic for the week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I basically agree with both of you. It's not my favorite issue either, but I did appreciate kind of the point that you were talking about, Mike, where everybody's trying to teach him how to be a hero, because I think that's going to lead to him being more confused and more frustrated, and kind of building up that angst and anger inside of him, and leading to whoever this character is that we're supposed to know. And it was also fun seeing like the Teen Titans, that version of them interacting again, and I don't know. I had fun with it. It's always a good series, but I agree it wasn't quite as strong, and there wasn't a whole lot of forward momentum with it. Yeah.
Right. We do have a comment here about the Goblin book. He says, I personally found the Gwen Stacy stuff distasteful, disrespectful. I get she's a fictional character, but to see her neck snapped over and over again was just disgusting. I think it was also more of a psychological book as well. And I think that's, you get to see how much he suffers through that trauma. So I think that's why they were doing it.
It was a memory. It's not like, I think I'd be angry if they were doing it again. It was like, in reality, it's like, all right, haven't we got enough of Gwen's broken neck? But it's just like, it's the past. It's something that happened and, he's trying to deal with and actually trying to like feel guilt over.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that they actually showed it, but at the same time, I got that. It's like they wanted that visceral feeling for the reader to say, this is what he's seeing in his mind over and over again.
Right, exactly. All right. So let's talk about number 5. Brant didn't put an order in, but I'll go with Kat and what she thought her number 5 was.
Mine was Murder World Avengers. I thought it started out a little slow, but as we get to the main guy dying, I was like, all right, this is interesting. And it gave me enough to want to read Spider-Man and see where it goes. And the art was fun. It's just like an overall fun book. I don't know if it was another week and I had 20 books, this would have been on my top of my list. But for a smaller week for me, it was, solid. And if you're looking for an action book.
I actually really enjoyed it. And as soon as Mike kind of told us both to read this one, and as soon as you said like Squid Games, I was like, oh, okay. Because I actually really like that show. And I like that concept. And then, of course, I keep forgetting the name of that Dennis Hopeless book. But I loved that book as well. So it was like, okay, trapped in a murder world and everything. And then when you
Avengers Arena.
Avengers Arena, yeah. When you find out that it's not actually the Avengers and it's like regular people that are going through this. So it was like, oh, that is a twist that we've not seen in Marvel. So that made it more interesting for me.
Yeah, I really see, that's what I liked about it too. It wasn't like the Avengers. And then knowing that it continued, like this was a series of books, I was like, oh, well, that really threw me off. And that's why I tried to make it a thing to tell the people when I talked about this book, was that this is kind of like that Miss Marvel series where she teamed up with Moon Knight and Venom and everything else. This story continues through that. And this book is kind of like what I wanted from like that Dynamite book that we read. You know what I'm saying? Where it was like, with those girls that were, just dropped off. Well, and this was fun though. I really liked that it was human aspect, and I love that the guy was a YouTuber and he was just like, yeah, man, I got all lucky and developed some mutant powers and stuff. And then, things end up pretty bad for him at the end. And that's what I liked about it. Like it was just shocking. And it's going to tie into the Black Widow series in the next issue, which I like too, because she is trying to find out where Arcade has been, because she knows he's responsible for what he has done to her. So if it ties into that volume, that's going to be really, really good in my opinion. So
for sure.
My hat's off there. So I really enjoyed this one.
We do have a question from Consensual Sense Slots. Everybody talks about a good jumping on point in comics, but what is the jumping off point? Do we just get the run, but only our favorite character, or only one publisher? I mean, for me personally, if I'm just not liking a book, it doesn't matter about, unless like, again, a Spider-Man, I'll never drop off of, because just I have all the books. I like the character. I'm not going to jump off to that. So I guess in that regard, favorite character. But if I'm not liking a book, if I'm not liking the second Spider-Man book, if I'm not liking, I don't have to pick up every Spider-Man book. I really just need to pick up Amazing Spider-Man. If I'm just not feeling it and I feel like it's a shorter read, I'm not going to read it.
I think that would make a good topic someday. We could like go into like what made you jump off this book or that character or whatever, and that kind of thing. But I think it varies for me, just in brief, in case we do revisit this at some point. I think it varies. Sometimes it could be I'm just not into a story, or I'm just not. I don't know. I don't know. There's that's like mainly the thing, right? I'm not enjoying the story, or it goes in a different direction than I'm expecting. That kind of thing. So.
Yeah, absolutely. But I agree. I'm going to save my thoughts for when we do that. that topic. There we go.
We need to start writing all these down.
Yeah,
we do. We know 2 of them that people have suggested, but we should probably start writing them down.
What's this? So we got another comment here. Since Iron Man is pretty much rebooting again, would you consider the run by Cantwell just a giant maxi series, kind of, since it's only going to like issue 25? I mean,
consider a maxi like 12, not
it's 12.
25.
Yeah, 12. It is 12. And a story has to really interest me in order for it to continue just one long story arc, like Cantwell's did.
Yeah, I agree. At the same time, like 25 issues today is actually a pretty decent run for a mainstream book. Yeah,
he was on it for a while. That's that's like 2 years, so that's very long.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's see. I think my number 5 was Gunslinger Spawn issue 14. We get to see Gunslinger, a little bit of an origin story in this issue, and we get to see him become Gunslinger and the torture that he went through, his bond with animals, and a very gruesome and dark book on how he takes out his frustration. This book just always entertains me. I just laugh when I read it sometimes, like how brutal it is. And again, I'll say it every time, like, this is Brett Booth's best artwork I've ever seen him draw, is in this series. Like, you can tell that he's taken his time, putting every little detail in it. It's a phenomenal book, man. And it's like the best deal in comic books. $3, you're entertained, solid writing, great artwork, nice action. Love it. Best Spawn book by far, in my opinion, too. So, but that was my number 5. All right, so let's talk about our topic here. Basically, we got Nightwing issue 98 because we can talk about this.
Might. And you know what? It's not my humor, man. I didn't like it. When it comes to the topic, though, I think that's where they're leading. I do think they're leading to Batgirl and Nightwing being married, but I don't really want to see it just because, like, A, because you saw how the Catwoman and Batman thing happened, and then B, it's weird to say it feels rushed because they just started this version of the relationship, but they've also been together for decades. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it should happen, honestly. Not now.
I mean, the way Barbara was reacting to that whole marriage thing,
she didn't seem like it.
That's where she was thinking anyway. I'd be fine with them. I love them back in a relationship, but I'd be fine if but I don't think the timing's right either. I think that's a little too soon, especially like I said, the reaction during this issue. As far as this issue goes, I was not like excited for Nightmite at all. When I found out he was a fifth dimensional imp, it was like, okay, well, that makes a little more sense. I'm okay with why he's there or how he's there or whatever. I still didn't love it. And the one nitpick I think we all have with this book is it keeps sidetracking off the main plot over and over and over again.
I don't even know what the main plot is ananymore.
I know, right?
Well, it was the they had the
sister and
Maroney. Was it Maroney? Yeah, as he was the they're like witness protection. They had him in the log cabin, and they did their thing in the last issue, and they're trying to bring him to Gotham or whatever it was. And then at the end of the issue, you saw that it was Rick Grayson, and you're like, what the heck? Who is this Rick Grayson? And then it had this very like serious tone type of comic right at the end, and then you get this, it changes to a comical book all of a sudden.
Drastic
and
change,
I don't like that flip-flop. I was like, wow, I am really disappointed with how it diverted like that. And I didn't like this issue either. I was like, it's too goofy, it's too silly, it's not what this book is. The marriage thing I couldn't take seriously. I'm like, that's not real, that's not going to happen. And if they did do it, same thing, I agree with you guys, it's too rushed. They just literally had their relationship, develop in this particular book where they're officially boyfriend and girlfriend. And I don't think they would get married in the very next issue. That doesn't make any sense. And I think people would probably be pissed off at that. So, there's guess there. My guess is proposal at issue 100, wedding at 113. They revert to legacy numbering then by changing it to 300. That's a very interesting theory.
I think maybe he proposes and she says no.
Yeah, no, I would be fine with that. Because, and again, nothing against. I love them together. And
yeah,
if this
I do
was
too.
like a different version of them and that hadn't broken up, I'd be like, yay, marriage. This is so exciting. But also, I think comics and marriage in these past couple of years have been like, the only one that really lasted or happened was Rogue and Gambit. You don't even see them in comics. You don't get to see them together. I don't know. I would just have a bad taste in my mouth because it's weird to say because I love Tom Taylor's writing. I love how he writes relationships. I liked how he wrote Green Arrow and Black Canary in Injustice. I liked how he wrote Batgirl and Nightwing in Injustice. But there's something about them that's not clicking to me in this particular book. It's just like, I like them in this, and I obviously love them as characters together, but I don't love how Tom Taylor writes relationship, weirdly enough. It's kind of the same thing as like the Jay and John thing for me, where I'm like, it kind of feels unorganic, which is weird.
I actually like their relationship in this book, but I think the disconnect there is Barbara's viewing this as very casual and he's getting serious. That's the read that I'm getting from it. So
I think it's weird though, because I don't think. Maybe it's because she's not in it enough, and then I think he takes all these different turns with this book. And I feel like Tom Taylor almost doesn't know what he wants with the book. Like one issue, I want to deal with the relationship. One issue, I want to make it a comedy book. One issue, I want to deal with, blockbuster. One issue, I want to deal with Heartless. And it's just like, and the book just goes in circles and it never really goes anywhere. So maybe that's why the relationship seems off. There's like this disconnection.
Yeah,
right.
No, I agree with that.
I also just feel like you were just saying, because we don't get the time with them, it doesn't feel organic, and it's just like, it's so interesting. And again, I'll always go back to like the queer topic of all this, but like how people are like, Jay and John sucks because they're gay and it's not organic. But like when it's Nightwing and Barbara, people are like, they're awesome because they exist and they're together, and they don't like, there's not the same criticism when the same exact things are happening in both relationships. Why I feel like neither relationship is really great right now in either book. And again, maybe some people are loving it, but I think with Barbara and Nightwing, it's like, I like their relationship because of what I previously have seen, not because of what I'm seeing in this series. Tevia is asking, do you believe Tom Taylor cannot write mainstream DC books, and frankly his failure with Son of Kal-El?
All New Wolverine.
Yeah, All New Wolverine. Yeah, I think was a great book.
Fantastic.
He's written other ones. What else? The other one in Marvel that he wrote? There's another one.
He did the X-Men Red, though. That was bad.
Didn't love X-Men Red. Wolverine was great.
Wolverine was great.
Superior Iron Man.
Yeah, we love Superior.
Good. Yeah, that one was good. What else did he wrote? He wrote that Dark Ages book, which started off strong, but then fizzled out.
I think when he's saying mainstream, I think he means like in continuity. So I don't know if Dark Ages counts. Because like obviously the Dark Knight of Steel is great, and Injustice is great, but they are out of continuity.
I was gonna say, and you all like Deceased, and he's written some of that, and
he wrote some Deceased. I think with those, it's just like it goes back to editorial, where like when you're writing a Spider-Man or you're writing a Superman or even writing Nightwing. There's always going to be editorial rules. And with Dark Knights of Steel, there is none. There's just like, do whatever you want. It's your universe. So I think it's not that he can't write mainstream books. It's just like, that's the rules of mainstream books. I think like a writer like Dan Slott, and I remember I went to a panel of his, and I kind of feel like he hit the nail on the head. Whereas like some writers love to just, do big things and like, editorial, like when editorial says, no, actually this character is being used here, they get angry or they're like, why? Because, this ruins my story. And then there's other writers that flourish on it. And Dan Slott's like, the reason I worked for Marvel for 30 years is because if they're saying make Spider-Man dress up as a clown, he's going to be the best damn clown there is. So it's just like some writers just do better at like figuring out how to bend with editorial, and then others are like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, again, I'm not putting words in people's mouth, but like James Tynion or Scott Snyder, like the people that have left the mainstream because they're like, ugh, I'm like, I want to do my own thing. I want to just like write my own stories. So, going back to the Tom Taylor thing, I think he's a wonderful writer. And I think there's just some things that he hits the nail on the head and some things he doesn't. And that's okay. Yeah. And when it comes to Son of Superman, I don't think it's a failure. I think there's another volume. He's how many issues? It was like 20 something issues. Like we were talking about with Iron Man's, like things don't even last like 3 issues anymore. Like that Gwen Stacy miniseries that didn't even like finish and then had a one shot 2 years later. Like that's a failure. I would say.
Books that are like 3 issues, books that canceled before they even come out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We got a comment here. How would you guys feel if DC brought back Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo back in the main Batman title?
It's not going to happen anytime. It's literally just not going to happen. There's no reality.
If it happens, I don't, what the thing is what can Scott Snyder write that he didn't already do? You know what I'm saying? What is he going to do that's different? Because he was on the book for quite a while. And once he got past, what was it? That 0? Was it 0 year? Like, was it
something like that?
Yeah. I was kind of bored by that at the time, and then you got to like Bunny Robo Batman and all that stuff, it just, it got weird there for a while. So,
and he's making more money doing the things that he likes and doing his own titles, and why would he go back to DC right now? And again, nothing against DC, but they're just all in different places in their career. I don't think never say never, but I don't think anytime soon he's returning.
I mean, nothing. I think you got a great writer on Batman right now.
Mm-hmm.
So. All right, let's go forward now. So we have She-Hulk issue 8. You guys, I told you my issues with She-Hulk, right? And
I hope this issue changed things for you.
And so, so my issue was no story progression for me, just a lot of standing around. Jennifer Walters just sleeping in bed with Jack of Hearts now. You know what I'm saying? And so when I opened this issue, I was like, please, God, give me something in this book that I can.
It was definitely something different.
Get excited. Yeah. So no Jennifer Walters in this book whatsoever. However, I loved how they fleshed out the other characters in here. April and
other guy.
I can't remember his name either.
Husband. Day.
On how they wanted to be Hulk. First of all, who wants to be Hulks? But they wanted to be Hulk.
They're already crazy.
And obviously,
in particular, they want to be She-Hulk, which was interesting.
Yeah,
they're like, we want to have the brains,
right?
The brains.
But the experiment went wrong, and she became more like the leader. Like she got like the big head, maybe the big brain, and he became stupid, And yet he's like stuck in that Hulk form. So he kind of is like Jennifer Walters in Hulk form or whatever it is, but he just has no brain and he's just become like almost like a child. So I love this issue. I thought it was really good because it fleshed out those characters, and that's what I've been waiting for. Now, the book is still not perfect in my eyes because I want to see Jennifer Walters interact with other people besides Jack of Hearts. Like, we have not seen her interact in this world hardly at all. And that's what
I think by the end of this issue, you see that she's gonna interact with these people though. Figure out what happens with Jack of Heart.
And I think it's obviously because of them or whatever it is. And I think it's going to get, it's getting better. But I love the character development with those characters because I was totally intrigued with them. I was flipping through the pages. I'm like, that's a great story when it comes to these two. So I liked it a lot.
And this is definitely because, again, me and Brand have been on this ride for like how long, the Rainbow wrote Runaways, which honestly was a lot of years. Like she wrote that book for a long time. And it's just the style of storytelling she has. And I knew a moment like this was going to happen. And when I read this issue, I was like, oh yeah, fine. You know, this is great. Because she's so good at fleshing out new characters. And I love the twist that she had with different tropes where she's like, oh, you know, Spider-Man got powers this way. Hulk got powers this way. Let's do our own thing. And you care about these characters. And then you kind of get the twist of the main plot where this is the place that Jack of Hearts has been kept as well. So you're kind of digging into the mystery a little bit more. So yeah, no, I always knew we were going to get to this spot. And when we finally did get here, I was like, classic Rainbow. She's just a talented writer and she's great.
Yeah, she's able to like tie all those things together, even though if they feel like they're disconnected and they're stretched out, eventually they all piece together. Like with Runaways, there was that superhero team, like that.
That was exactly what I was thinking about. Right? Yeah.
And we get little seeds of that, and then this guy just starts appearing and interacting with them, and then he's like implanted in their lives, and then you find out more secrets about him and that whole team that he had, and then that whole thing falls apart, and that's kind of the vibe that I got from this issue as well. So I definitely think if you stick along for the ride, Mike, you're going to enjoy the ultimate outcome. Yeah.
I won't drop it. I won't drop it because it's Jennifer Walters. And what I found interesting though at the end was they're like, oh, it wasn't about the blood, but it was her gamma rays that make her the way she is. So I thought that was that was interesting, right? So
and I think one thing I will say is that this is just the beginning. Like one thing about these type of issues that she writes is that there's so many twisted turns she's allowed to write because she's writing characters that aren't as big as Spider-Man and Batman. So like if you read Runaways, like there's so many twisted turns with those characters that she really was able to do anything, going back to like editorial. And I'm getting the same vibe from She-Hulk where it's like, I feel like there's going to be some big twisted turns, especially with Jack of Hearts. There's a reason she's focusing on them.
Yeah, it obviously has to be, But yeah, we'll see where that goes. I enjoyed it. At least now we have some history or some story with those two characters on what their purpose is. Obviously, you kind of knew they were they were part of the bigger story. And I'm happy that she didn't wait too long to really get who they were, right?
Yeah.
We do have a question from Consensual Sense. Slots, did Marvel miss the mark by releasing Hallows Eve on Thanksgiving instead of Halloween? I don't think it matters. I think whoever was going to pick up this character is going to pick up this character.
Remember, it probably was supposed to fall on Halloween when we got those 2 issues that were delayed. That it was the Gala and it was the Judgment Day books. Those ones were delayed, so it pushes all the other books back. But I don't think it matters either. I think it's pretty cool. I think she looks like she's going to be a cool character. Remember how I said she was Mary Jane? I said maybe she's Ben Reilly's girlfriend.
See, that'd be so less interesting.
I'm just saying, people are like, if it's Mary Jane, they were like, I'm not reading Spider-Man anymore because I'm tired of the good person becoming evil and blah, 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 So, but
if it's Ben Reilly's girlfriend, be like, I'm tired of boring characters becoming something. Because I mean, like, again, the Harry Osborn thing with Kindred felt so similar where it's like, okay, like a good example is when Thor was doing its, Mighty Thor's art where everyone's like, it could be Rosalind, it could be this, it could be that. I'm like, but who is the most interesting character it could be is Jane Foster because of, again, the history and like she had cancer, blah, 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 blah. So like, why don't you just pick the more interesting character to talk about instead of like, we'll see what ends up happening. But instead like a Ben Reilly's girlfriend where it's like, is she really that interesting? Even if they try to make her interesting, it's just
like a character that we don't care about.
Exactly. There's no connection.
What you don't want. Like, you care about Mary Jane, right? and you want Mary Jane.
I even still Liz Allen. I'm still saying Liz Allen. She's somewhat interesting.
It's like, but you care about Mary Jane, and you're pissed off that she's not in the book. So if she's in the book as a villain, hey, at least she's in there, you know. And like, why did she become a villain? Maybe she doesn't like Peter because she's this thing now. Like, who knows? It could be anything, right? So I don't know. We'll see.
BDG's getting his universes crisscrossed a little bit.
That's funny. All right. So let's see. We talked about She-Hulk. Let's talk about number 4, Kat. What was your number 4?
Mine was Stargirl, The Lost Children. I thought it was a solid issue. We get to see, 2 unlikely heroes with Red Arrow and Stargirl teaming up. It was just a fun issue mystery about legacy characters and how they are going missing and turning into children. So, am I going to say this is the best book ever? You have to read it? No, but if you like Stargirl, pick it up. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, and I'll say that, like, if you watch the Stargirl show, there was enough in this book for fans of the show to connect with, but there was also enough in this book for fans of the comic version of her to connect with. So it was a little of both, and I appreciated that. I thought it was a fun, decent story. Like you said, Kat, it wasn't the best, story I've ever read, but I do like Stargirl, so I'll definitely pick up the next one.
It was okay for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not a huge fan of Stargirl. Like, I think she's kind of cool, but I don't have any history or attachment to her. And so, like, when I was reading this book, I love the moments where she was a high school kid and she was interacting with Amiko and how she was grounded and then she wasn't supposed to hang out with Amiko, and then they like snuck out to do this. Like those things, that's what I loved about the book. And then as soon as it had to deal with like with the Golden Age heroes, and they're like naming all these characters, I'm like, I don't know who that person is. I don't know who that person is. Like, who's that guy? Who the hell is TNT and Dynamite? Like, I don't give a shit about those guys. Like, that was the point where I was kind of like, okay, like all I cared about was Amiko and Stargirl together. That's what I liked about them, about that book, So, but it was fine. It was entertaining, but for me, it was just like, if I did not read it, I probably wouldn't have missed anything.
Yeah, no, I very much agree with that. But if you're looking for something fun, Paul Act, whatever happened to that Arsenal character? That's a good question. What happened to Roy? I don't know. We haven't seen him in a long time.
Did he die?
Yeah. He died and he came back though after one of those events.
Yeah, one of the last events.
Like Red Hood. I mean, in Red Hood.
He came back though. He came back in an event, like the last event, whatever that event was.
Was it
which
heavy
I
metal?
really don't remember. It could have been death metal.
At one point, he was like a Black Lantern, a zombie, and then somehow he came back. I don't know if it was whatever. It was after some of it. I don't remember. He's in.
So they did nothing with him. He is very in and out, but maybe with the news that we'll be talking about later, we'll see some Roy Harper.
See, Kat, you might be right. There are possibilities that Hallows Eve might be Liz Allen, since it suggested that she is possible. I mean, it does make sense, right? I mean, she would be the most logical one.
She'd be interesting too, because again, we have her son doing something, her husband's doing something. They're all related. Like, it's in the family. At least there's like a story to tell. With Ben Reilly's girlfriend, it's like, what story is there to tell? With Mary Jane, obviously that would be the best story, but people are going to get upset. So I'm like, I think Liz is the most logical answer for the character, unless you make her nobody, which is also uninteresting.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. All right. So my number 4 was actually She-Hulk. So you'd be happy about that one. See, guys, I do love She-Hulk. All right, so let's move on to Dark Crisis Young Justice issue 6. I did not read this book.
Since I didn't like this issue, did you like this issue, Brett? Because usually when I did. Okay, good. So we're on the same page.
We're finally on the same page
with the past few issues now, right?
Yeah.
I liked the last issue, but this one I thought they did so much, and I was like, "Whoa, slow your horses!" And they were just like exploring love triangles, they're exploring leaderships, all while they're trying to fight this villain. I'm like, "All right, I'm good."
I agree. It was way too much, and it was they were digging into so much Titans history in this book,
Mhm.
and still trying to keep it balanced. And then if you didn't know these characters and you were trying to read this book, and
Oh,
you'd get
you'd
confused
be
by the
lost.
Sissy Cassie. It's like, what? Yeah,
Which
it was.
probably is like Peter Davidson, I think, wrote that original Young Justice run. Maybe on him, because Sissy was a new character back then. Maybe not having a character named Cassie and Sissy in the same
Right.
book.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Damn,
Yeah,
I didn't read this book after issue 1, man.
I
you
read it
didn't
because
miss
I
much.
love this team and I love
Right.
these characters,
Same.
but I also don't think you need to read it. Even though there's
Not at
issues I
all.
liked from it. Like I liked the last issue, but it's not a cohesive book, sadly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, it ultimately ended with, wait a minute, the Justice League are alive? Let's go help them. Doesn't it?
Yeah,
What a
not
great
much plot
ending.
progression.
Very creative ending. All right, so we all know how we feel about that book. So let's move on to number 3. And number 3, Kat, is for you.
World's Finest. We already talked about it.
All right. My number 3 is actually Thunderbolts. Once again, I really enjoy this book, and actually now the plot's really starting to take off in this issue. It's kind of cool because you get to see like what you think is the Thunderbolts. Everything's going good for everybody, and then you start seeing some weird things actually happening, like people saying things that they're not supposed to say. You actually see like in the beginning, like Hawkeye hooking up with Bobby in the issue, which is kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
But we find out that it's all like in his brain. He was on the phone and he's being possessed by something, and you don't know what it is. I love the way this book was written, and I love the way the artwork is. This book just reminds me of, and maybe it's supposed to be purposely written this way, but it just reminds me of an older comic book, like something from the 80s. Like I like it. I really enjoyed it. I really like the beginning where you have Purple Girl doing an interview on a late night show, and they're like trying to sell dolls on the air of that one creature. I forget his name. It's just good. It's
Iger
fun.
or something like that.
Yeah. So I like this book. I think it's good. I don't think it's the best book. I don't think it's by far the worst book, but it's entertaining for me.
Yeah, I liked it too. Didn't it say to be concluded at the end of it? Is there only one more issue of this book?
That's what
Really?
Steve is saying. I wish Thunderbolts was an ongoing.
Yeah, that sucks. I was like, really? That's the
No way.
one more issue?
Oh my god, I thought this was like an ongoing series.
I did too, or at least like a little bit longer than.
Oh
than
yeah.
that.
Oh, that's
Maybe it's one of those. It's funny, and again, obviously, I don't know if it's a failure or not, but this is kind of an example where like it was never announced as a miniseries, but like it's actually a miniseries because we didn't get as many sales as we thought.
Right. Yeah, I've enjoyed it, and I was like confused. Like at first, it was like, okay, Bobby's in it. That's cool. They're together. That's weird, but okay. And then, like you said, and then things started getting odd, and it was like, wait a minute, how can that? Why is he teaming up with that person? Why is Luke Cage in his old outfit?
Yeah,
stuff like that.
So
it was
weird.
really weird.
Black Widow's just standing there, and she's like, "You're a failure." And I'm like, "What the heck is happening?" Then this big UFO comes, and then this big alien monster drops from the sky. I'm like, at that point, I'm reading it. I'm like, man, this is getting good now. Like, I love this is like comic stuff for me, like classic comics. And then it just gets all. Then it just ends like that with people passing out on the floor, and I'm just like, what is going on? And then it makes sense. Like she winds up going into his bedroom, and he's like possessed by
floating
something
in the air.
Yeah.
Steve says it was a Jesus announced as a mini, and now I really want to know what a Jesus is because I'm like, was it originally announced?
And then we got issue 5 is the last issue. It won't be missed. I like the nostalgia of the late 90s feel of the book, but they didn't delve into these characters for the dynamics at all. Well, I just feel like, this is the perfect example. I think this book didn't have time to do that. And if it had more time to flesh out these characters a little bit more, then the book could work. Like okay, so perfect example, Strange Academy.
Mm-hmm.
How many issues did it take to flesh out all those characters?
Yeah.
Right. So you got to know who they actually are. And now finally it took a second volume to get to that point. And I think this book kind of needs something like that also.
Yeah, especially when you're introducing brand new characters like that Iger guy, and we haven't seen a whole lot of the Purple Daughter,
Right.
and that other one that has like we don't know who he is, like
The
with
dude that's like
the
Cable.
guns and stuff. Yeah, maybe something
Yeah.
like that. I think it's supposed to be somebody that we know. So yeah, you're introducing all these brand new characters, and we're supposed to just like get to know them in 5 issues. That's
right.
I don't know. It definitely needs more issues to do it justice.
Yeah, that's frustrating that it is only 5 issues, you know.
I agree.
Maybe in the future they'll come out with a different volume, but something like that I think needs time to breathe, and they just can't do it. It's not going to work that way. Excuse me. Okay, so did I do my number 3? Yeah, that was my number 3. So I thought we were just talking about that. All right, so we talked about Stargirl. And then, okay, so we'll just jump to number 2 and then number 1. So what was your number 2, Kat?
Mine was She-Hulk.
Okay. And mine was Gold Goblin. And then I'll just say my number 1 was actually Murder World Avengers. And I'll give you my reason behind it. Not maybe because it was the best book I ever read, but this was a book that was on the shelf that I really wasn't highly anticipating. And the only thing that made me pick it up was because it was Murder World. And when it saw Avengers, it reminded me of Avengers Arena. And it was something completely different, and it exceeded my expectations. And the great thing is like, I wasn't spoiled by it beforehand. I didn't even show any preview pages of it. And I was just like, wow, this was a really good comic book, something that I did not expect. Yeah. So by the time I got done with it, I really enjoyed for what it was. So yeah, that's why it's kind of like my number 1 this week.
Yeah.
And mine was Crashing, issue 3. There's maybe 2 more issues, maybe 1. I really like this book. It's Nurse Jackie Meets the Boys, and we're getting to see a lot of things ramp up in issue 3, where some of her she's a drug addict, the main character, and she's been sober for years, and now she took 1 pill, and things are not going well for her. So it's a really good book. Very much recommend it.
Awesome.
So I gotta ask, Mike, you read I Hate Fairyland?
Dude, I still haven't.
Are you dropping it? You still haven't read it? Okay.
I have like 5 issues left to read. I thought I was going to get to it today, but before air, when I was talking to Kat, I was telling her how out of sync the week is because of my kids being home and doing things.
Sure.
In order to get my videos done this week, I had to record them all on Sunday. It's just everything's all wacky.
Yeah.
And so I might read it tomorrow morning, like when I first wake up and see. But I was flipping through it. I'm like, oh my God, this looks more of the same. And a person like commented on it, and they said, I Hate Fairyland was the biggest waste of time I ever read. And I'm like, that doesn't help the cause. But I want to hear what you thought about it.
I mean, yes, it's more of the same.
Yeah.
Basically, she has to go back to I Hate Fairyland to rescue somebody. That's what the plot is. And she's not there yet in this issue, but it is definitely the same kind of humor. So I'm curious to see what you're going to feel about it once you read it and see if you drop it immediately or what.
Right.
So, yeah.
I just don't want it. It's just like, see, that's what I didn't like about Nightwing. Not that Nightwing was so over the top, but I get enough of those comical, like jokey books. Like
in Nightwing.
I don't need Nightwing to be that type of book.
Yeah.
I don't need it to be a Harley Quinn. I don't need it to be a Deadpool. I don't need it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind jokes in my comics, but when it's all the time throughout the entire book, then it just gets old, and I Hate Fairyland seems like it's always over the top to me. And that's what I didn't like about the first one. it's just weird. I don't know. And you would like, I like to laugh. Like I like that stuff, but for some reason in comics, it doesn't work for me like that, when it's so over the top. But when it's on film, like I don't mind it, but just, I don't know, comics, it just doesn't work for me all that much.
Gotcha.
So we'll see how it goes.
Very cool. Well, I think that's all the comics. I know, Brant, you said you had to head out. But was there anything you wanted to say before?
Do you want to do the most anticipated, though?
I can do that real quick.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, so there's that. Yeah, so let's get into that. Let's I'll just run through mine real quick because I have different stuff. 8 Billion Genies, number 6, first 8 years in this one, so that's cool. We'll see how crazy the world gets after 8 years. Amazing Spider-Man 14, I think might be the one that's on all of ours.
Yes.
So we can talk about that in a minute. And then G.I. Joe number 300, last issue of the series at IDW. So monumental run of that series. So excited to see how they close it all out. Kat, what about you?
Yeah, so my number 3 is Dark Crisis to Dark Army, just because I'm curious to see that new Red Canary character. I'm like, all right, let's see what that's all about. Then number 2 is Mighty Morphin issue 102. I enjoyed the first issue. I don't want to say pleasantly surprised, but it was a new creative team. I didn't really know where it was going to go, and I think they really set up for some interesting stuff. And then number 1, I want to see what this Hallows Eve's all about. So Amazing Spider-Man. It also seems like it's going to be starting more of the Dark Web storyline, and there's not a lot of huge comic books coming out. So Spider-Man feels like the biggest comic coming out tomorrow.
Gotcha.
Yep. I just want to highlight this comment real quick before I get into mine. It says, I Hate Fairyland was created by the same guy who wrote Strange Academy and created Me, You Love in the Dark and Middle West. You're 100% right. And all those titles I love. But this
shows he's versatile.
But this one series, it's just completely different. Now, it's like a fantasy, it's like an adventure, it's kind of like what he does, but this is much more raunchy and over the top type of humor. And that's what I don't like about it. So but all those other stories I loved. So, but Kat's right. You can see that he can write definitely many different types of books. All right. So I'll go into my top 3. Now, probably if I wasn't sure if 8 Billion Genies was definitely coming out this week. For a couple weeks. So that honestly would be in my top 3, but you put it down there, Brant, so I didn't put it down. But I got Midnight Suns issue 3, Vanish issue 3, which is coming out as well, which I'm excited about. And then, of course, Amazing Spider-Man issue 14. I just want to see this character. My gut feeling says, though, that we might only see like one page of her at the end, and that might be it.
Yeah,
that's just my gut feeling. Yeah,
it's definitely a possibility. Yeah.
So we'll see.
So before I head out, since you asked, Kat, I will plug 2 things real quick if I can remember the URL. We have a pre-launch page for something different. We're doing like diamond painting.
That's not the title of the Kickstarter. It's just it's just something.
Yeah, that's just the link. Yeah. It's something different. It's called something. No, it's called Fantasy Diamond Paintings. It's kind of a DIY kind of thing, but we're also going to have our comics and our puzzles available on the same campaign because a lot of the art ties into both of those. So if you missed any of our campaigns in the past, you can check that one out when it launches. So get notified there. And also I put up a new video on Only Good Comics this week talking Birthright. So if you're a fan of Birthright, go check that out. I'm going to try to get a video up every Monday if I can. So check that out. So aside from that, everybody have a happy Thanksgiving if you celebrate, and I'll see you guys later. So.
All right, Brant. Take care, bud.
Enjoy.
Bye.
All right. So I think we're going to get into some news because there was a lot of news to talk about this week, but we'll get into the media news first. Comic creators are joining Hive. So Twitter is an unknown right now. I did join Hive as well. It's only mobile though, which kind of sucks. But I haven't used it yet. But I have it just so I could get my Comic Uno at.
I was gonna say I read that article today, and I'm gonna join it too. While it's I guess new and other creators
get your URL.
Are starting to do it, so I think I'm gonna do it as well. And because I stopped actually using Twitter, it has nothing to do with Musk. I actually stopped using it like a couple months ago, just because honestly, like I don't use it, and I was just never a huge fan of it. So, and so many people are on it. Like, so now with this one, I'll try it and see how it goes. So I don't know, but it's something new. And if comic creators are on it, then it makes sense to maybe try it out.
It seems more hobby based. It also seems more, their big thing is like not bullying, I guess, trying to be very open-minded to everybody. So
Right.
I think that's always a good thing. They seem like they have good thought processes about their culture. Can someone explain Hive? It's just Twitter Lite. It really is just Twitter, except on a mobile app, and it's new. And from what I understand, I think it also the algorithm is like whatever's new. So it's not like how Twitter is like, well, they do their own algorithm. It's literally just like you get to see the news in real time, which what Twitter used to be, which is definitely very nice. We'll see how long it lasts. We'll see if it does anything, but it's nice to, at least have the URL, and it seems like people are, trying it out. So hope for the best.
Yeah. And I'm always on my phone also. I'm like, it's bad. The only time I'm ever on the computer is like when I do this show. And then when I'm doing like my videos, because I have notes in front of me. So, but the reason is because I only have a Chromebook. I don't have a computer. This is the computer I use here is like the family computer or my wife's computer. And if I was to use this for all my YouTube stuff, she would kill me because it would clog up the computer with everything. So eventually I just need a real computer, so.
Yeah, a laptop, like a Chromebook, it's already like your phone. So it's like, why not just
Yeah, it's just a bigger phone, basically. That's
Yeah.
basically what it is. But I can't even video record on it and download video because it doesn't have a hard drive. All your storage is based off of the drive, and you got to buy storage. So if I was to keep videos on there, I would have to buy a ton of money in storage, so it doesn't make sense to do it.
Definitely agree with that. All right, let's move on to Legion of Superheroes getting an anime film. I don't care about the Legion of Superheroes. Did you see this trailer, Mike?
I don't know. I was scrolling through it and I was like, where's the trailer? I saw the images, so for some reason the trailer wasn't popping up. But I honestly, I clicked it. I marked it off because I wanted Brant to talk about it. But I don't care about this. I won't watch it. I won't watch it at all.
Well, for a thing that I think we do actually care about is that Silk was supposed to be a movie. They're making it into a TV show for Amazon Prime. And it seems like Sony's going to be doing more Spider-Man related television shows, which I think is so much better than whatever movies they were planning. I think TV shows are like, especially a character like Silk, I think there's so much more to do in a television show, especially with the way her character is based. Like you have the PTSD angle, but then you have the journalism angle. So, and also, she's an Asian character, which would be fun to explore. So yeah, no, I think as a TV show, this makes so much more sense. And it's on Amazon Prime, which their superhero stuff, you got Invincible, you got The Boys. I'm excited to see how they do.
Yeah, I am too. I'm excited about this. And this obviously will help that number one issue, of course, go up in value. The first appearance of her, but I'm excited to see what she has to offer. What is this comment? Indie Key Comics says, unfortunately, I have to use my phone to do videos, and I can't even keep past videos stored in my phone because the clocks. Oh, does it clog up his phone? Is that what he meant to say? Takes away too much space. Some always, I'm right there with you. I mean, I have a really good phone. I have a Galaxy S20 Plus 21. I think I have. And my phone is great. Like, I use my phone for everything. I record. I have my editing software on there. I do everything on my phone, which is good because it's like if I need to go somewhere and I have to wait, I'll edit. If I have to be in my car, I'll edit. So there's so many things that I do on there, but I also can't keep all my videos either. However, that's what YouTube is for. All your videos are on YouTube anyway, and I don't need to keep every single video. Or your videos can get stored on, if you have Google, they get stored on Google Photos. So you can always keep them on there. And if you ever need to bring it back, you can bring it back also. So don't think it's completely lost if you delete it from your phone itself. So now when it comes to iPhone, like, or Apple, like, I have no idea. So I don't know if you have any input on that, Kat.
Oh, I have just a lot of memory on my phone. So
Okay.
like I bought a phone that has a ton of memory. So
mine does too. Like, I have like over 5,000 photos stored on there, just pictures. I'm constantly downloading like images from the internet. Like, I got a ton of stuff.
Yeah. So, but I agree with you. If you don't have enough room, I think YouTube's a great place. But I use my technology so much, especially like my computer, that I just bought a computer that has a lot of memory, so I don't have to worry about it not having any. Teddy asks, do people even care about Silk? I think she's a known enough character that this could be cool. I think, again, the Asian side of it all, I think it's gonna be really cool representation. But then also, like, does anyone care about the boys? You know, did anyone care about Invincible from a mainstream point of view? No one knew these characters. If the show is good, they'll start caring about them. Did anyone care about Shang-Chi, you know?
Yeah. That's how you get people to know a character. You put it out there in the world, and if it's written well, right, people are going to watch it, right? It's just like, look at The Walking Dead, for example. How many people knew about The Walking Dead before it came out on the TV show, right? And look, it lasted 11, 12 seasons, just ended the other night. And I didn't watch the final episode, but I watched most of the Talking Dead episode, and it had the whole cast of characters from every season on there, which was actually really cool to see. Dude,
I don't know how you fit them all.
It had Carl on there, and to see him as like an adult now it was insane. Totally insane. But it just shows you, though, if something's written well, people will watch it.
I agree. All right. So last media news is that this is actually huge. So the CEO of Disney was kicked out, and now it's the old CEO coming in because it's just like, man, Disney's been doing really bad. It's like even their most recent movie doesn't have great reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. I'll go see it because, again, got the AMC stubs. I love Disney, so I'll go see it. It's Strange World. It comes out this week. Comes out this thing. Exactly. What is it? Because it has not been promoted at all. Right. And I only knew because, again, like, I follow movies. But yeah, no, it's been the parks especially have not been doing good. So they needed someone to like say, because the guy, he was just Bob. I forget his last name. But he just not. Were they both Bob? What is the other guy's? What was the last name?
I don't remember.
The previous CEO. Yeah, they're both named Bob. I was like, are they both named Bob?
Bob.
Yeah, hey Bob. Yeah, he just wasn't doing a good job. So I'm very curious to see, what this new era of Disney. Oh, what I was gonna say is that he was reinstated as the board, and everyone's like, what? Why? So now I guess why has gotten him kicked out.
I mean, I think it's cool because I mean, obviously he was very successful, and I feel like ever since he left in 2020, right, and then obviously COVID's happened, and Disney hasn't been able to really rebound since then. And I don't know if it has to do with the creator front. I don't know if it has to do with the.
I think it has to do with the stocks, probably.
I don't know what it has to do, but I do know that Disney just raised their prices to go into the parks again, and we're getting to the point now where
Who's gonna go?
Yeah, it's almost, we're getting to the point at certain times of the year to get into a park, a one park ticket is $180.
It's crazy.
Like,
And that Star Wars hotel failed too. So there was just like so many endeavors that they tried.
right.
Just failed.
You can't make something that much money. Like, you got to pay $180 to go there. You got to pay for your hotel stay. You got to pay for all your food. You got to pay for all that stuff. There's so many other places you can go for less money, you know?
Universal, I think, is cheaper.
Yeah, it is. It is cheaper.
And I think, and I haven't been to Universal in a little while, but if you stay at their hotel, at least that's what it used to be. You get those fast passes for free if you stay at their hotel.
Yes, you do.
So, I mean, that's also another thing with Disney. You know, you have the fast pass stuff that they changed as well. So it's just like, Willie says there was a Star Wars hotel. Yeah, but the thing is, it was like an experience. You had to, it was a lot of money, and then you had to like. It was a day experience. So you wouldn't even go to the park. It was just like you stay in this hotel and have this experience. It did very badly. People did not like it. And yeah, a lot of their new stuff, the Disney parks are creepy. I don't know about that. I'm a Disney stan. I don't think they're creepy. But yeah, no. And it costs $50,000. I think it costs more than that. the bills.
What, stay there?
No, I don't think it can't cost $50,000 to stay there. That's who would go. There's people that went. You got to get the yearly passes or whatever they get. Yeah, but that's only if you're a Florida resident.
Yeah,
For
you have
people
to
who
be a
just
Florida
want to
resident.
go.
Exactly.
I know for Florida residents, you guys get it a little cheaper than, people who aren't Florida residents, but still, like, you got to want people to go to Disney. But yeah, it's been interesting to see. Well, everything goes through ebbs and flows. I'm sure they'll figure it out, but that was very, very interesting. And like you're saying, I'm excited to see what changes will be happening throughout the parks or just in the movies too. What type of movies they're going to do, what they're going to lean towards.
I feel like they also said that Disney Plus also lost a lot of money as well. So
they're doing too much back-to-back content, if I'm being honest. They're just it's impossible to catch up. I think they lost the excitement with some of their shows.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm sure it's got to cost a decent amount of money to go out there and put all that stuff on a streaming service and run it. And, do you have enough subscriptions to make that difference? And, and not enough new content either. I mean, or content that people want to watch. That's the tough thing. When you have only one new show that comes out, basically, that people want to watch, then what happens? People watch that, they subscribe, they watch it, and then they unsubscribe, and then they'll get it again later.
Franchise is it's all franchise shows too. It's like, oh, it has to do with this Disney movie or this Star Wars movie. It's like you're not getting any new content like Netflix, where it's just like, oh, this new show came out. Like, it just so happens to be on Disney Plus. I feel like they need more. I understand franchises are important, but we're getting a little IP killed here.
Yeah. Here we got. What about Disneyland in California? They don't have a yearly pass, and you can't use the same pass at both parks. That's insane.
Yeah, that I knew of. I've been to. I'm actually going again this year, but yeah, I've been there. I didn't know about the yearly pass, which is crazy because I would think most people that go to Disneyland actually are California residents, which is the opposite for Disney World, where a lot of international people go to Disney World. But yeah, Disneyland is very much like, residents, but maybe that's why they do it. And yeah, I know both parks is kind of like a universal thing where you got to pay for both parks.
Yep.
Well, I guess no, that's Disney World too, though, because you're paying for all the parks too. You're paying for an individual park. You can get a package with all four.
There's a park hopper pass or something like that, but
you're paying more.
Yeah, but I can tell you, man, the cost of Disney passes is so much more money than Universal passes. It's not even in the same realm. And I like Universal better than Disney personally. That's me. But again, I understand why people do like Disney. There's just a lot that goes into it. It's good for the younger kids. But me personally, I'll take Universal any day.
I like the environment of Disney World more. Like I like the culture of Disney
I
World, but
definitely get that. Yeah.
I like the themes of Universal more.
Hmm.
Because again, you have like the Spider-Man ride, you have all the Marvel stuff. Yeah. I will also say I think Disney is a little bit more creative when it comes to their rides. I think a big complaint from Universal for a lot of people is that a lot of their rides are screen rides. So a lot of them are just like, here's a screen, you get to look at it. But they do have a lot more diversity in the regards of like, you have a Jimmy Fallon ride that no one likes. But then you got the
I
Mummy
like the
ride,
Jimmy Fallon ride.
you like the Jimmy?
No
hate
one
the Jimmy
likes the
Fallon
Fast
ride.
and Furious ride. That ride
Oh
is
yeah, no, everyone
garbage.
hates that too.
Oh,
I have not been on
everybody.
Fast and Furious. I have been on Jimmy Fallon. I don't like that ride.
You don't like it? I like it. I think it's
But
fun.
I live in New York, so I'm like, I could go home and go to see this.
Fast and Furious is god awful. But you know what? Like, I think you can say that about Disney World. How many rides do you go on Disney World
Oh,
where
they
you
got a lot of
just
screens
sit
too.
down and you watch something, right? It's like Little Mermaid is the same as Buzz Lightyear. It's the same as the Haunted Mansion. It's the same as like they're all basically the same ride, except it's just different themed. It's
I
the
think the
same
older
thing.
rides are, but the newer rides, if you look at like the Ratatouille ride that just came out, they're using so much new technology to like do these things, which I'm like, oh, there's like no track, which is super interesting.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm just a Disney fan.
I'm yet to go to and see Star Wars land
Oh,
with.
you will shit your pants. Like literally, I like Star Wars. I'm not a hardcore fan. I was like, whoa, that was an experience. And I went with Phil, my business partner, and we were supposed to do a convention, but we just ended up going to Disney because the logistics of the convention didn't end up happening. So we're like, we got this Disney plan, let's go. And I remember telling him because he's a bigger Star Wars fan. He's like, oh, what's this ride about? Everyone's been talking about. I'm like, I legit cannot tell you because the experience of going on, and that's if you go on Rise of Resistance, you will change your tune of Universal rides being
I've heard a
better.
lot
It's
of
like
that thing's in the
so
is that one in
crazy.
the Magic Kingdom?
No, it's in Hollywood Studios.
Oh, Hollywood Studios. Yeah, I heard good things about that ride. Like I want to
Blow
go
your
on.
mind.
If I go to a Disney park again, it's only going to be for that ride right there. I would
And just
love to
remember,
go.
it's not the Millennial Falcon because that's another ride, and that's fine. It's a fine ride, but it's Rise of the Resistance.
Rise of the
and
Resistance,
it will.
right?
Phil was telling his sister about it, like right when who's an even bigger Star Wars fan, and we're telling her about it, and she was like, we're trying to show her all Star Wars stuff, and then we're like, you literally would faint on this ride. Like if you're a hardcore Star Wars fan, it's just like you get into the world of Star Wars in a way I could never imagine. It's just really cool ride.
Here's a comment here.
That I want to ride. I would really want to ride that.
Oh my god, that's so freaking good! Holy shit! I've read it twice now, and I remember when I went on it the first time, my mind was blown. The ride is such a smooth roller coaster.
That's why I heard it doesn't jut you.
Yeah, it doesn't jerk you, and it just like it takes off, at a solid speed, and then you just, man, it's so great. And then you go down this drop. It's so good. It is literally the best roller coaster I've ever been on.
I've only heard great things. I want to ride that.
Yeah.
I went on the I remember the rocking roller coaster they had, and I was like, I like that one. The one that's in the entrance of the park, the one that's the big one, like 3 big hills. It's a music roller coaster, dude.
Oh, you Aerosmith one?
No. That's Disney.
Universal?
There's another one. Yeah, ripping.
Oh, Rip Rocket. Yeah, I hate that thing. That thing gave
really?
me, yeah, no. When was the last time you rode that?
Oh man, probably 5 years ago.
Okay, so you'll go on it now, and you'll probably, after like the way roller coasters have evolved, right?
Yeah.
You'll go on it now, and you'll be like, "Holy shit, this thing is giving me a concussion." That's why like it's so like it's jerky, and I just went on it recently. The same day I went on Velocicoaster. And
we also have Six Flags here, though, which is the most jerkiest roller coasters in the world. So like I'm pretty used to. There's roller coasters. Like we went on the Greenland. First of all, we went in November, which was so fucking stupid. We were so cold and we're outside and we're just shivering. I don't know, because it was for a friend's birthday we went to, and it's a Green Lantern ride where you fucking stand on this ride, and my legs are killing me. I'm like, oh my god, I feel like I'm getting a blood clot on this. And then there's the Superman ride where you're underneath it, so you're like on your chest. You're literally like, like Superman.
We
So
have
I'm like,
that at SeaWorld. We have the Manta that's like that, where
but
you're
you're like
literally
strapped in.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're
you're like that
strapped in
too.
and you're like this. I hate that ride
So
because
it's so
you
uncomfortable.
literally when you go in this, and we're so off topic, but this is I just like talking about this shit. When you go like this, and the loop is so big and the G forces are so bad that it goes right to my brain.
Yeah.
And I feel like almost like it's so bad, like I almost feel like I'm going to pass out. The rest of the ride is actually fine, but it's that one initial loop that you got to get through that is so hard. That's
agree.
Probably pretty good there, what he says. The Velocicoaster Hagrid's is really good too.
I haven't ridden that one yet either.
That's really fun. That is really, really
Hulk
fun.
is good, but I feel like that one jerks you a little bit now. That's very old.
Though. They redid the track. Yeah.
So I have not been there in a long time, which I want to. It'd be nice, but anytime we go to Florida, we usually just go to Disney. But yeah, I don't love jerking roller coasters, but sometimes it's fun. There's a El Toro in Six Flags, and the whole point of going on is that it is so shaky and disgustingly shaky. But that's Disney. That's Universal. I hope you guys enjoyed the off-topicness.
Yeah.
We had a good time. All right, let's get into some comic news. So we have 2 covers that are coming out with some legendary music artists. Paul McCartney on World's Finest cover, I just want to talk about because I love the Beatles, so I will be getting that. But the other one is actually comic news, which is Eminem partners with Spider-Man to do a cover. It's already sold out. So I thought it was something you could get at a comic book store. You actually had to get it on his website. It sold out. And I like Eminem. I listened to his daughter's podcast. But I was shocked that it sold out so quickly because supposedly the first comic with Punisher is one of the most rare comics is with his cover. So I was like, damn, if I knew about this, I would have went on the website. Yeah, exactly. Which is why it sold out.
Right. That's unfortunate, though, that you wouldn't be able to get something like that at a comic shop unless you get a comic shop that bought one and then they sell it at their store. That's probably
for a much higher price.
Yeah.
I was disappointed with that because I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But supposedly he's a big comic fan. And I mean, a lot of rappers are. But I like when, again, there's an avenue for maybe someone who never read a comic to read a comic. So maybe someone's a really big Eminem fan, just want his autograph and kind of like Spider-Man. They read this and they're like, oh, cool. This is a cool comic. But I have a feeling it's just a spec comic, which really fucking sucks. But it would have been nice to have in the collection. Oh, look. At my local comic shop, the Eminem comic was the most asked about for the past 2 days. It's beyond hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that shit. If that's in a store or if it's on eBay or whatnot or something like that, I'm sure that it's going to be a high priced book for sure.
Remember when Eminem did a song for Venom? Vaguely. I remember, I kind of remember he did a song for it, but I don't remember anything about the song.
I'm good that he likes comics, so that's cool.
Yeah, again, because a lot of rappers talk about comics in their music. You all think it was worth $35 though? Yeah, if it's this hot, it's probably going to be even more money.
Yeah,
I spent $35. Yeah. I spent $35 for it.
Think about it. You pay $20, $25 for 1 in 25 covers, right? So it's
more rare than that.
Right. This is going to be more rare than that. So it makes sense that it would be $35. I think actually that's a good price. I think it will probably go for $50, probably $75 or $100 to tell you the truth.
And the autograph one I think was going for it was a couple hundred. That was on his site. Yeah. But this could be crazy. It's gonna be big. All All right, let's get into our next thing, which is the Shazam actors are writing a Shazam family book. I'm just glad that they're doing more Shazam stuff because I'm truly loving the new champions of Shazam. And again, whatever gets people to buy a comic, I don't care who's writing it. It's just like if that person's gonna get it.
Yeah, it'll be cool to see what happens. I just my only thing is like hopefully they won't start to oversaturate Shazam.
Yeah.
We got Shazam, we're getting the next movie, we got Black Adam, you know, and I feel like now we got a comic, and all of a sudden all these Shazams coming out all over the place. And then it's just like, and yet we haven't seen them, you know, and you got this whole Dawn of DC coming out, and there's another Shazam
we'll talk about
book. Yeah. So I just, hopefully they just don't oversaturate it.
No, I agree. I think the Shazam family book's like a one shot, so that should be fine. Speaking of oversaturation, Iron Man's getting a second title for some reason.
It's only 5 issues though.
Yeah, but it's another. Let's see if we can do the first Iron Man first.
It's to celebrate 60 years of the character. So I mean, I can understand them. Like, how many other books have you seen with 60 years of the character? You had Thor, Spider-Man. You know,
and I didn't like any of those either.
Yeah, hey, I don't blame you, but for people that did like it, you know, it's, you know, maybe it might be pretty good. I might check it out.
I'm gonna definitely check out the new Iron Man. I don't know about the I Am Iron Man. All right, let's get into Betty is gonna be getting a new comic, Betty from Archie, and I will answer this in a second from the name changes, but she's getting a Final Girl book, so that is totally up my alley. I love slashers. It's so funny. Again, I was talking about the AMC stuff. It's like the only thing we ever see is horror movies now. But I actually read an article. People are saying the reason like horror movies are doing so popular in theaters is because no one really wants to see real life shit right now, just because there's so much going on in real life. Where because there's the movie She Said, which has to do with the Me Too movement, and it didn't do well in theaters. And there's an article about how the reason why it didn't do well is like, even if it's a great movie, people just don't want to see it, just because again, like we live it. So like
people want to escape.
Yeah, especially now.
Right.
And that's why horror is doing so well, because horror is a great way to talk about things that are happening now without talking about things that are happening now. And Barbarian actually does tackle the Me Too movement in such a great organic way, and it is the best movie of the year. If you guys have not seen Barbarian, did I talk to you about Barbarian? I was saying that you should go see it. I don't remember, but you guys need to go see Barbarian.
And then you mentioned Smiles too. What did you think about that?
I didn't like Smile. It was very early 2000s pop up, and like I don't get scared by horror movies in general, but I really don't get scared from pop-up scenes. There's people that jut out and be like, whatever, but they do not scare me, so I get no effect out of them.
So was it like scary for you or creepy at all for you?
No, not at all. Especially because we saw Barbarian like the week before, which was a genuinely scary movie. Oh, God.
I just thought, like, I saw a preview of it just recently on TV again, and it gave me the creeps. Like, it just was creepy to me, you know?
I saw Terrifier 2, and that was, if speaking of scary movie, it was like gore porn, and it was just like, and it wasn't even scary, it was stupid. It was just like, when you compare like a Terrifier 2 to a Smile is very horror light.
Right, gotcha.
We do have a very nice super chat here. Thank you from That Name Changes. Just popped in to give y'all a free comic. Oh, thank you. That really means a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is really good. I saw Barbarian off your recommendation and loved it. Just felt the constant tension building and was amazing. It legit is the best movie of the year. And again, we see a lot of movies. I besides Jackass, which is a weird movie to say that I felt a lot of tension, but it's just because you're like, oh, are they gonna get hit? Are they gonna get hit? Barbarian, like, legit, like, gives you so much tension. And again, it talks about like really big topics, like the Me Too movement and things like that in such an organic way where you knew it was a part of the movie, but there is still this layer of escapism. And that's why I think Barbarian works so freaking well.
Right.
Infamous Mike Manhattan says, are you going to see Megan? Yeah. It's this weird ass movie about this like doll character, but yeah, we're going to see. It's a horror movie, so we're probably going to go see it.
Horror movies are hard to come by in my household, but I know, Like my son likes them, and the cool thing is my daughter's starting to like them now too. So you know, as they get older, hopefully I'll be able to watch them. But my wife hates them, so it's a tough thing in our house, you know.
Watch
But I used to
Barbarian.
watch horror movies all the time when, you know, before I met my wife. So
Gotta get into those horror movies.
you know, and comic books are cool too. I mean, they take you away from real world. I mean, that's why you probably read them to start with. I mean, it's a getaway from everyday life, you know.
Yeah, and like I said, there's ways. There's a phone. There's ways to read. There's ways to tell stories about something. Like I think Specs is a great example of that, whereas like it felt like escapism, but like it was still saying things. And like I don't like stories where it's nothing.
Something important there, but it wasn't like thrown in your face, you know.
Yeah. Because like there's also like the popcorn flick where I usually get very bored by them because they tend to be kind of boring and they have no substance in their escapism. You're just watching like fighting and that's it. That's not usually my my go-to.
And this might be an unpopular opinion, but that's how I felt when it came to Black Adam.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I didn't love it. I was just like, all right, it's fine, but all it was fighting.
Right. I like the fighting. But when it seemed like there was the same scene happening at least 3 times, that's when I got bored with it, you know? So, but yeah, I mean, listen, it is what it is. I mean, I don't want to go into that.
Yeah, but I think like Top Gun's a great. I don't know if you saw Top Gun.
I haven't seen it.
Example. Yeah, it's a good movie. Like it's a good way of like progressing the plot by still showing action, and because it's all, from what I could see, real effects. It's like, you know, planes actually flown by people and not all just CGI. Like there's some tension, there's some good character building. Those are the type of action movies I like. All right, let's get into Power Rangers. So I'll talk about this quickly. Is getting another series. It's kind of like an Academy series. It looks like they're going to have other Rangers from, you know, other seasons. So very excited about this. I love school type books. So to have a Ranger Academy might be a lot of fun. I think they're introducing that with Free Comic Book Day.
Gotcha.
Now, talking about the elephant in the room of Marvel, and then we'll talk about the elephant in the room of DC. But the big announcement kind of from Marvel was that Donny Cates and Ryan Ottley are leaving Hulk. And then everyone's like, oh my God, what does this mean for Donny Cates at Marvel? Because he hasn't been solicited for some of the Thor issues. I think Torrin, who's wrote Valkyrie, wrote the last issue. So he hasn't been writing Thor in a while, or at least won't be writing Thor. But he's still staying on Thor, it seems like. But Hulk he's done with, which I don't blame him because I don't think he ever found his footing on that book.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe the Thor Banner War kind of ruined that momentum maybe that he was looking for in that book. And I don't think there's a good positive, I guess, feedback when it comes to that book from a lot of fans. And maybe he just doesn't have a good, like you said, footing on the book of where he wants to go after a certain story arc, you know? And it's weird because Ryan Ottley's going to finish the book. He's going to finish the story for him.
He is, but then he's gone after that. And then I don't know what else he's doing.
I think the book is probably going to end at that point. So I don't know, or maybe someone else will take it over, but that's quite interesting for me. And I think Donny Cates, I don't say he's burnt out, but I think he just has other things that he wants to do.
He's also doing indie stuff. He did say he's doing stuff at Marvel. So he's like, don't worry, there's a big project. Yeah. Steve, he didn't officially say he was leaving Thor because I think Newsarama updated the article and said like he still has plans for Thor. Yeah. I read it right before the show just to make sure, but I think he's still staying on Thor, at least for the time.
I think he was just taking a break for an issue or two or something like that. So I think he definitely has had plans when it comes to Thor. That would be a shame if he did leave it and didn't finish his story, right? So
like X-Men.
Yeah, right.
But we have Vanish. I'm sure he's going to be doing other stuff. So I'm not too worried, but again, if he's leaving any series, I think Hulk made the most sense. All right, let's get into the little pieces from the Dawn of DC, and then we'll go through the titles of Dawn of DC. But Shazam's title is going to be from the creative team of World's Finest, which again, I hope they're not spread too thin like all these writers and artists we've been talking about, especially Dan Mora, because art takes a very long time. But I'm excited for them on Shazam. I think that makes the most sense with this kind of old school feel of World's Finest, and I'm very excited to see what they end up doing with it. So if the quality is there, I'm all for it.
Absolutely, yeah, I am too. I'll be on it. It's the one thing that I will have to say before we get into these books, it's good that they're starting to introduce other books that we haven't seen.
Yeah, and we're in Batman,
right? Yeah, and they desperately need that.
For sure. No, I definitely agree. So we will talk about the overall scheme. But this was also interesting. It makes me feel a little bit better about Dark Crisis. But it seems like the Titans are going to replace the Justice League, which honestly I think is such a good move because the Justice League has not been interesting in a long time. And it doesn't seem like anyone's too invested in them right now. But people love the Titans. Like people love the Teen Titans. There's such a big following behind them. So why not
I
make
think
them have the series?
Yeah. I think when you look at it, Kat, like people know the Justice League, but there hasn't been a good Justice League in a while.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be a Justice League in the DC universe because it's just they're like the Avengers. They're the heavy hitters. But I think for them to focus on a team book being the Titans, I think is a good move because when you look at the generation right now, okay, you look at us, the older generation, well, me, the older generation, not so much you, but you're familiar with it and you remember the Titans cartoon show, right?
Yeah, well, that was my generation.
That is your generation. And then when that show was out, I was in my I want to say I was like in my late 20s when that series is out. And I remember watching it. I was in the 20s and now I'm 40 something. So it's been a long time. But now you had the Teen Titans Go, and I'm not comparing, like they're different, but it's still Titans, right? And so now you're getting a Titans comic. Well, we don't know that for sure yet. It hasn't been officially announced. It's going to be talked about in Nightwing that Dick is going to be a leader, right? And it's a variant cover that's in that article. But I think that there's more people these days familiar with the Titans, whether it's the Titans, the Teen Titans, Titans Go, or what they've known in the past. So to make that a book again, I think might be smart on their part.
Yeah, no, I agree. And also like if you look, maybe we don't love Nightwing right now. It is one of the more popular books that are out there. So it makes sense to maybe have him as the leader and do that. So let's get into these titles, though. So first up was Doom Patrol. And this is going to be written by Dennis Culver and the artist is Chris Burnham. This is interesting because it's a very different franchise. It, once again, has kind of a cult fan base. Has a popular television show. I thought this was a really good move.
Yeah, I again, this is something that people, if they most recently watched it on what was it? Is it on HBO Max or was it on HBO Max?
Yeah, it was on DC Universe and then it went to HBO Max.
So, and it got canceled, obviously, right? So if people love that show, then I'm sure they'll be looking forward to this comic book as well. So absolutely. It seems like they're going with properties that people seem to be more familiar with based off of what's kind of hot in the company right now. So you talk about like
that hasn't been around for a while,
right? Doom Patrol, Titans. So those are three things that are kind of relevant right now. So so keep going.
Yeah. So next up, well, first I also want to say the Superman news from a couple of weeks ago is going to be kind of part of this new initiative too. So we got already the lineup for Superman, and now we're getting these books, and this is just phase 1. Which is cool because it's like, oh, there's actually even more to look forward to. Let's see. We also have the Green Lantern titles. So we have Green Lantern Corps. So focusing on different members of Green Lantern Corps. So April is going to be Green Lantern Hal Jordan, written by Mariko Tamaki. And then Philip Kennedy Johnson, who's been writing Action Comics, is going to be writing a Jon Stewart book, which makes sense with the new show that's going to be Jon Stewart related. And again, he is a popular Lantern because of the cartoon. And I'm glad Hal has his own book as well. And I'm curious to see what Mariko will do. There's times where Mariko really does a lot of slam dunks. So, but there are times where I haven't loved some of the stuff that Mariko's done. So I'm curious. I hope Mariko writes some Carol Ferris.
Yeah.
Give me some Carol.
Philip Kennedy Johnson wrote the last Jon Stewart book. And I know people weren't a fan of that. I wasn't a fan of that either. But when it comes to Tamaki writing Hal Jordan, it could be good. In the beginning, Tamaki did a pretty good job with Detective Comics. But then it got so fixated based off of Future State and the Magistrate and all that other stuff that it just went on way too long. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Well, hopefully she does a good job with it.
Yeah, no, I'm rooting for that one. I don't know if I'll pick up the Jon Stewart one, but I'll definitely pick up the Hal one. Moving on to the one I'm most anticipated for, and that's Green Arrow, written by Joshua Williamson, art by Sean Izeski. And why I'm excited about this is because we already got Connor Hawke and Robin, and he was phenomenal. So yeah, and also it's Green Arrow, Joshua Williamson. Like, I really think this could be one of my new favorite books.
Yeah, I was really excited to hear that Green Arrow is returning because I feel like every time we talked about DC not having a book, what did we say that we wanted? A Green Arrow book, right? And
maybe Black Canary will be in it.
Finally getting one out there. And it's cool because Ali has been in kind of Dark Crisis. So it seems like it's been hinted at that maybe obviously he might be coming back. And I think this is a great move. And I think people will be all over this book because it's just something new. It's something different, that we haven't seen in a long time.
I will say, looking at this list, though, it's so interesting to see there's not a lot of female-led books. It's
not yet,
there's definitely
not yet.
Not yet. It could be around 2 for sure. But I was like, oh man, I'm looking at this list and there's so many like male-driven books. Good to see that there's a lot of diversity, and we'll get to more. But I was like, oh man, there's not a lot of female-driven books. Moving on to a book we won't talk about too much because we've kind of already talked about it. The Round Robin winner, Superboy, The Man Is Tomorrow, is going to also have his own series. But this is going to be the reason I want to talk about it is because I don't even know why it's in this lineup, because it's going to be a mini series for sure. And if it's anything like Robin's, it won't even be connected to anything. It's just going to be its own thing.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Again, it's one of those books that it's just like it probably is going to just exist. And again, like you said, not connected. This story probably could be already written for all we know.
I think it definitely is because usually with those, they had to pitch it, right? So they had to pitch it to get it in the Round Robin. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's connected to any of this stuff. I'll read it because it's Connor, but I'm not expecting it to be this big ongoing. All right, well, moving on to Batman, the Brave and the Bold. So another Batman book, but it's going to be written by different creators and have different... King. Yeah, it's Tom King, Mitch Geralds, Gabriel Hardman, Dan Mora, once again, and Rob Williams are going to be doing different issues. And yeah, so Batman's going to team up with a different hero. Sounds anthology driven to me. I don't think I'm going to pick this up unless it's a hero. I'm like, oh my God, not this hero. That's great.
Yeah, this is something that I'll have to see once it comes out if I'm going to buy. Because this is not anything different. This doesn't really excite me. It's just another Batman book. So, we don't need any more of that. That's the last thing that I wanted to see was like more Batman stuff announced.
Well, don't worry. We're going to have even another Batman title. Let's talk about that one. So we have Tom King once again, and Stefano Godino will be launching a Penguin book, I guess, because he was in that movie. I'm good. I don't need a Penguin book. I will probably skip that.
Well, I want to know. Isn't Penguin dead right now?
Oh God, I don't even remember. When did he die? Oh right, he died in the
first issue
run.
No, he died in the beginning of this issue with Failsafe.
Oh, wow.
It was the first issue of Chip Zdarsky's run when he died in a hospital bed and he set up Batman to fake that murder that made him murder him, so he would get arrested by the police, and that's how Failsafe came. So,
well, this one they're saying it's a new Batman spin-off. Penguin's out of retirement into the service of the U.S. government. So I'm curious to see if it will connect or not.
Maybe it's an Elseworld book then.
It could be. So next up is Cyborg is getting a series. It doesn't say who the creative team is. Again, it's good to get some diverse books. Cyborg's a character though that I feel like they always try to make a series and it just never slams dunks. But maybe this one will. And I hope we get a good Cyborg book.
There's your.
There you go.
He faked his death. It was shown in the backup story. Okay, gotcha.
I never read the backup stories unless it's like, oh my god, I love that character. I didn't even read the Catwoman backup story.
What was it?
Cyborg.
Cyborg. He had his own book in the New 52, right? Wasn't that when he had it?
It got canceled.
It didn't do well. It did not do well. So I don't know. We'll see what's going to be different. Can Cyborg hold his own book? And I felt like no. I don't feel like he can, but prove me wrong.
Not in the context he is now. I think they need to build a supporting cast with him. They need to just do something different with him if they want to make a Cyborg book. I feel like they rely so much on his roots of Titans, or Teen Titans. I want to see him branch out and really just like make a life of his own. I think that's the way to make an ongoing book with him.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into the last title here, which is Steelworks. This is going to be a title pairing the original Steel, which is John Henry Irons, with his niece, Natasha Irons. And it's celebrating 30 years since he's been introduced. And honestly, this I feel like could be a cool underdog book. We have not really ever seen an ongoing with them. I think their dynamic could be super interesting. I'm interested in this one.
I agree. I agree with you 100% on this. I think Steel is an interesting character. You first saw him I think it was like during the reign of Superman, right after the death of Superman. And I don't think we see him enough. And it'll be cool to get him. It's just, is it another like Superman character? Yeah, sure. But again, it's something,
a different side.
It's something different. It's something different, and I think that's okay. Again, I want to see other characters get titles, and I think that's what will make DC a strong company again. You can't rely everything on Batman, because eventually people are going to get sick of Batman, and people are going to be like, okay, well, I'm only going to buy 2 Batman titles because I already, I just read so much Batman, so I'm just going to get this one, I'm going to get that one, and that's it. They don't need 20 of them, so.
And with Batman in particular, there's a lot of books that are just Batman, because you could say like, oh man, there's, but there's Nightwing. Does that include a Batman book? And I'm like, those for me don't as much, because it's such a different thing, especially Nightwing, who's connected to other franchises. And then Batgirl doesn't really feel the same. So with Batman, like Batman, the Brave and the Bold, like that has Batman in it, and there's so many miniseries of Batman in it that Batman's the lead. With these new Superman books, like I think Superman's in like 2 of them, and most of it is like, oh, we got a Steel book, we have a Superboy book, we have a John Kent book, so like at least there are different characters being explored. But that's it. I think the big my big consensus of this all is like good for DC. I'm excited I love when DC does this. I think this is where they strive. And I liked when Marvel did it too. I liked the Marvel Now time where I was getting new titles and getting excited and be like, oh cool, there's a couple issue 1s out this month. I know I'm the minority in this, but I genuinely like when they do this and do a fresh slate.
I do too, because it gets you excited. Like I remember when the New 52 came out, and it was like, you're going to get this book and this book and this book.
Exactly.
And this book, and they gave you when they came out and stuff. And it kind of, you made a checklist of what made you excited. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, I like that. And knowing that you got announced that there's going to be 20 new books getting ready to come out, I think is kind of cool. And you got kind of a small taste of what it's going to be. And I'm curious to see what else they're going to release. And again, I hopeful that there's going to be other characters out there that get books, and there's new stuff out there. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I agree. And that's all the news. And we already did our most anticipated. So we will jump into wrapping up. How much, last thing, how come they don't get books anymore? Who?
Are you
How
talking?
come
I
they
think,
don't
is
get
he talking
books
about
anymore?
characters?
Oh, I mean, money, right? And just like, they're like, oh man, we want to, people like Batman. Let's make sure we just do things
Right.
that we can make
I
big
think
bucks on.
it comes. Yeah, I think it comes to a couple of things. They need to make money, so they know that Batman sells no matter what. And you notice how much they charge for comics because they got to make up for the loss, that they're not making. And I think personally, they don't have the writers that know how to write certain characters. That's what I think is going on.
They're using a lot of the same writers. They really need to bring in. I always say they need to bring in new blood, but even the new blood they already brought from 2 years ago, whenever they did that initiative, like, here's all these new writers. They're being exhausted. They're like, here, put them on 5 titles. Like, just like get new blood on your books.
Yeah. Here's a good comment from BDG. Killing Time, The Knight, Deadly Duo, Batman Beyond, Batman Fortress.
That's crazy.
I Am Batman, Batman 89, Batman. How much Batman? Yes. So,
and again, that is all, like, these are books that have to do with Batman. All right, maybe I'll take Batman Beyond out because that's not a Bruce Wayne book, but all the other ones are pretty much. I Am Batman. It's not a Bruce Wayne book, but
he'd even put Detective Comics.
Right, Detective Comics or Batman.
Or Batman, it's like those are the two main books. So that's crazy, dude. And so you look at all that money that sells, So
and people are buying them. So
hopefully
too,
they adjust some of their prices because they are more pricier than Marvel is. Marvel has the cheaper side of the books.
I think they have bigger books because of their backups, but I don't need the backups.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think maybe their quality is better, but
their quality of their paper is definitely better.
Yeah, but you know what?
Give me a cheaper Marvel
this book here, $3.99, $3.99, $3.99, $3.99. Gunslinger Spawn, $2.99. My top 5 books were all $3.99 books. You look at any of those DC comics, and I bet you probably pay at least $1 more, for them.
World's Finest actually was $3.99.
All right, good.
Yeah. And then Dark Crisis was $3.99. Stargirl, I got the better cover. When you get the better cover,
you pay
they're all $3.99. You pay $1 extra. So they are sticking to $3.99 for most books, but I think like Batman and stuff like that, they're $4.99 because they do the backup stories.
Batman is more expensive because of the backup story. Yeah, that's right. So, well, that's it. I mean, you got DC for you. Hopefully it changes their tune a little bit. They need to do something, and hopefully this is the beginning of that start. And so we can buy these books again. I want to read books that have different characters, like how I read these Marvel comic books.
I want to love, and we didn't even mention World's Finest is also technically a Batman book. But I want to love some DC books out. Like I want like New Champions of Shazam. I'm really loving. I'm really enjoying World's Finest. Like I want to get excited for DC books. And like Robin was one. Like I hope that's this lineup is a book that I could go every month. Be like, oh, can't wait for Steel to come out.
The few that I read, like I really like you said, World's Finest,
Dark Knight Steel,
Batman's, Dark Knights of Steel. DC says like this issue fallen off for me a little bit, but I still enjoy it. Like there's certain books that is good. People are saying Flash in the comments also. So there are some, but there's just not enough. There's just not enough. And that's what we need. We need more characters. So, but that's it. That's all we're talking about today. So real quick before we go, I just want to say happy Thanksgiving to all. Yes. Thank you so much for watching tonight's show. Hopefully you guys get to hang out with your friends and family. Remember, be safe, be responsible. And we will see you next week. But until then, make sure you subscribe to Comic Book Weekly's YouTube channel and my channel, Comic Book Corner 2.0. If you don't want to miss any of our live shows, make sure you hit that notification bell. Give this show a thumbs up. It definitely helps. And of course, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and who knows?
Maybe Hive.
Maybe the Hive. Yeah, maybe the Hive. So stay tuned for that one. We might add one more to it. But guys, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you all next week. Take care, everyone. Good night.
Bye, guys.